Certainly, in some territory we hadn't been in a while. It's a good thing. Our kids, went out there on Saturday, and truthfully, it just wasn't our best effort, and it stings anytime you lose. It always hurts, especially as hard as these guys work. I see it day in and day out, and I see how much it means to them. Certainly, and I talked to them about this. Hopefully, maybe now we can just relax and play, and this thing's over with, and we can move forward a little bit and just worry about playing the next game. This 2022 team, every team's different. And for these guys, the most important thing is the next game for us. It always has been. It always will be. Sometimes I think they try too hard, and I think sometimes, I told them this yesterday, we have more fun at practice than we do in the game, it looks like. And that's not how it's supposed to be, practice is hard. It's supposed to be the game is the reward. So, hopefully from this point forward, we can just go out there and just go relax and cut it loose instead of trying to be perfect all the time. Our reaction to this game and our response is going to be what dictates kind of the momentum going forward here. And there's a saying in football, you can't let a team beat you twice. And it happens like that sometimes if you can't flush it and can't get over it and move forward. So for us, we've already moved on. Last night's practice was really good. Guys came out, really good energy, got in the tape, fixed a lot of things, talked about a lot of things that we've got to fix this week, that we've got to continue to get better at. And, some of the things have lingered from the game before, and some of it, new things that show up, which is natural in this game. So for us, we're going to respond the right way. We're going to bounce back. Got a huge conference game, right? Western Division conference game against one of our biggest rivals, UL Monroe, up there on the road, and they've got a good-looking team. The two games that they lost, Texas and Alabama, they're pretty darn good. So, I don't think you can really take a whole lot of that. You got to take that with a grain of salt a little bit. But they do a good job defensively. Coach Koenig, he's not a stranger to the Sun Belt. We faced him in the past, and really he had a great plan for us in 2018. So we got to make sure we got it locked in and dialed in, ready to go. And then offensively, Matt Kubik is back up there, and he's got a good crew. He's got some weapons to play with up there. Got a really good quarterback, some good backs. So we're going to go up there and we're going to get their best effort. We know that, and that they're going to certainly get ours as well. And I expect it to be another typical UL Monroe rivalry game. I expect it to be a good one, physical one.
You always want to win every game, obviously, but just how important is it to get a good start and get a W this week starting with conference?
Well, in conference, it's vital, So in conference, these games really matter, especially when you talk about the Western Division. Every one of them does, and that's the big thing. We've had in the past, even when we've lost some conference games, it's been Eastern Division games, and we've been able to win the Western Division games, and that's gotten us to the conference championship to give you a chance. So they're always important. You only get 12 opportunities in the regular season to do it, but certainly when it's a Western Division game, it carries even more weight. So for us, the focus will be there, and certainly the motivation to bounce back and get that taste out of our mouths a little bit.
Coach, when you looked at film, the issues on offense, were they same as the bad halves before, or were they a little different?
Some, it's a little bit of both. Quarterback, we didn't play the way we want to play at quarterback. Just didn't play as good, which is the first two games. We played really well, and that's part of it. Sometimes, you're not going to play great, but the way that we play offense, and really in today's college football game, you're not going to win. When you do that. Now, it's certainly not all there on their plate. It was kind of just there was a lot of 10 for 11s out there, and on offense you got to be 11 for 11. And the one that we missed was critical. There was a couple of times we had guys, really cut wide open, and whether it be a protection issue or we're on the wrong side in the progression and we didn't have the correct motion to get us to the right spot. We had some of those things that it's one of those things. It was just here and there. It wasn't one position group. It wasn't one player. It was like I said, you go through every drive and you figure out kind of where you stalled out, and it's easier if you say, okay, it's this position group, it's this position, it's this technique. It was just kind of one of those nights where it was one here, then one there, then one here, and it was just kind of bouncing around. Some of it are things that we've talked about in the past, which those are the ones that frustrate you. But some of it, the protection deals, we hadn't had a problem with protection, and we missed on a couple of those. The quarterback operation, making sure we're getting everything moving the right direction. We hadn't had any of that, and we did. So some of those things that popped up, were certainly disappointing because as much time and as much work and as well as our guys practiced last week, you really expect to go out there and play a little better, So I do think some of it maybe has to do with just pressing and trying to be perfect and trying to do more than what you need to do instead of doing your 1/11th. But that's kind of what showed up was just too many 10 for 11s, and that ended up being critical on some of those downs and gets you behind the sticks and you can't overcome it.
On special teams,
Going Fields as your starter.
yeah. Special teams was an issue for both teams last weekend, even more so for Monroe. Are there some specific things that y'all want to correct? And are there some things that you saw that you might be able to take advantage of with ULM?
I have not watched a lot of the teams yet. Luke is already working on that. I have not gotten to watch that yet. I've watched the offense and defense more. We played Alabama in 2018. All right, so I know how those special teams things can go over there. So, again, you take it with a grain of salt. On our end, yeah, I mean, we've got things to clean up. On punt team, the too many men, in the backfield, we do line up in unique formations. The explanation I got was not. I wasn't good with the explanation. We had enough people on the line of scrimmage by the formation we had set. Now, when we watched the tape, there were some guys that were a little bit deep in their alignment, but that wasn't the explanation that we got. So we got to line up right. Okay, that's day one. And then the second thing, the first punt return that we gave up, we kicked it in the wrong direction. That's something that Reese is an absolute professional. And he got confused on the call, and we punt the wrong direction. We're not all on the same page. Again, 10 of 11, right? So we punt in the wrong direction. We're covering this half of the field, and ball goes to the other side. So, yeah, there are things that we got to get corrected and get fixed, and we spend a lot of time on teams. We take a lot of pride in it. So that was something that was a little bit disappointing. It was a strange game. I think we forced one punt. There were no kickoff return opportunities because they kicked them all out the back of the end zone. And then on kickoff cover, we kicked some out the back. We had to cover one twice because we were offside. So it was a strange flow on special teams, more so than normal. But, yeah, we've definitely got things to fix. And, we started on it yesterday, and we'll work really hard to get it where we want it.
You mentioned on Saturday how the offensive performance, you took the blame for it. How do you plan to respond as a play caller? Do you plan to be a little bit more aggressive in the way that you want to start the offense, or what is your mentality going in to respond?
The only thing I know how to do is when it doesn't go your way, you go back and you just work hard. We talked about it as a staff, and when things don't go your way, you got two options, right? You can either hit the panic button and you can scrap all the things you've done, or you can double down on what you believe in. And you can go back to work and work better and work harder at it. And that's what we're going to do. Contrary to popular belief, which by popular I mean the people that, watch the game casually, we had a lot of shots that were dialed up. We just didn't get the ball to them in some of those instances. So, we felt like we had some shots to capitalize on, and we just came up a little short in some of those spots for a variety of reasons. So we're going to work really hard to have another good game plan together and have our kids in position to go out there and go play well. But, ultimately it's always on me, okay? When you're the head coach, it's your job to have your team ready to play. And, I'm never going to stand up here and throw any of our players under the bus, because that is not – I've had coaches that have protected me for a long time, and it made a difference. So, I can handle all those things. I believe in what we do. I believe in the way that we do it. I know that it works. I know we have what we need. So we're just going to go back to it. We're going to double down, and we're going to do the things we believe in.
Jacob Caboti, is there any injury update on him?
He's going to be doubtful, most likely. I don't want to get too many specifics of it. It's lower leg. It doesn't. He's going through some tests and stuff. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a season-ending type of thing, but he'll probably be out for a little while. But we'll get some more answers today, so hopefully it's better news than a couple of weeks. Hopefully it's like I said, but I'd say right now he's doubtful.
Caleb Anderson, obviously made the big pick six, but through 3 games, is it surprising how well he's caught on, or is this a case of you guys kind of saw this early out of him and really wanted to put him in these scenarios and situations where he can kind of thrive?
How about that guy, huh? Gets put in a tough situation when Trey goes out in fall camp with a hamstring, and you say, well, you felt great about him being the backup and having to play a limited number of plays, and all of a sudden he's thrust into it, and he's played extremely well. We always felt Caleb had a lot of talent. We always felt he was the right type of player, the right type of kid. But again, I've said it, you never know until you know when you get those guys out there, and your first opportunity to go out there and play, sometimes it's too big, Sometimes the lights kind of blind you a little bit, and it hasn't happened for him. And to see him go out there, he's played well all 3 games, and Saturday night certainly was an excellent game by him. It wasn't just the pick. He played really well. He competes really hard, and he's a guy that came in here. He's another developmental guy. He came in. He was a high school quarterback. I mean, shoot, we didn't know if we were going to put him at receiver or DB, truthfully, because we felt like he was just a really good athlete. We didn't know where he fit, and we went with corner because of his length and his agility, and it's paid off so far. So proud of that guy. We always thought he could be that type of player, but you got to see it before you really know. So to see him go do it was really good for us.
How close to what he normally was Trey?
He's really close. Athletically, I think he's fine, truthfully. I think he's 100% or as close to it, as you can be when you play football. You miss a lot of reps over time. So some of the calls and stuff, it just kind of takes a minute to kind of get dialed into it and where you're at. But he played well. Athletically, he looked – he didn't, nothing that you saw on the tape made you say, man, he's not back yet. So he's just got to continue to get in the game plan and kind of, you make adjustments every week as the season goes on. And when you're out, even though he's worked to try to stay in the mix mentally and stay engaged, it's still different whenever you got to go do it, or you're watching, because you're just trying to stay engaged and stay involved. So there's probably a little bit more of that than the physical part of it. I thought, I was really pleased with the way he played. It's great to have him back. It makes us a whole lot better in the secondary to have all those guys available.
Do you anticipate Ben getting more playing time this weekend, or are you still locked in on?
He's been playing about every third series, which I think is what we need to continue to do. I've said this 100 times. I don't believe that in one day you lose a job and one day you win a job. That's just not the way that it works. Chandler won the job over a long period of time. He did not play great on Saturday. He knows that, we know that, and that's the nature of it, okay? I've had more bad games than I can count. Ben played maybe a little better, but didn't play great either. He missed some things that we need him to hit on too. So it's not like it's just one way or the other. They both didn't play well in that game, not to the standard that we expect here, that they expect. And like I said, the quarterback position's funny because, all right, you always get way more credit than you deserve when you win, and you get way more blame than you deserve when you lose. And that's the nature of the position. Everyone's got an infatuation with that position. No one wants to talk about who's starting at right guard. They want to talk about the quarterback. And that's just the world that they live in. And they know that. They understand that. And I get that too. And everyone's got the right to those opinions and questions and whatever. But every decision we make is in the best interest of this team. Everything that we do, we evaluate constantly. And certainly, if one guy plays a lot better than the other, well, then, yeah, you got to do what you have to do for the team like any other position. But, right now they both play well the first 2 games. They both don't play well in the third game. So, like I said, this was kind of the thing throughout camp. And, when you win the job over a long period of time, you deserve to be the guy, not because you played a little bit worse and then all of a sudden, that doesn't send a very good message to our team when we sit there and say, all right, he's a starter. We lost 1 game in the last, I don't know how many games we played, and it's like, okay, well, you come sit on the bench with me because you didn't play great this day. It's not the way you do things, and that's not fair to the kid or to the team. What's everyone else walking around looking like, what's going to happen? I don't go out here and have a good day. So, we are where we are. We evaluate it every week. But no, I mean, there's no change right now, nothing significant. Both those guys will continue to play, and Ben has done a good job as the backup, and he's played well in spots. And I expect him to continue to do that, and we'll get both of them ready to go, and we'll get them both playing better this week.
Got time for 2 more.
Did you, going back and watch your film, did you run the ball, maybe not as well, but as often as you would have maybe rewatching the film, or did the flow of the game impact that?
Well, we ended up kind of having to throw it maybe a little bit more because we were kind of behind the sticks a little bit in some instances, I thought really running the ball, he ended up running it for 4.9 a carry, which, our goal was 5, which is a really good average that you look for. But there wasn't the consistency in the run game that you want, right? It felt like it was kind of, all right, we got something going, and then bang, you lose 4, and then you're behind it, and then you got to throw it a couple times, try to get it back. So, the flow of the thing was just, that's one of those things that you get in those games that are like that. I mean, we ran less than 50 plays on offense. That's way less than what we're accustomed to running. So you have to convert on conversion downs to keep drives going. We had some opportunities, didn't cash in on them. And like I said, I mean, some of the things, you're 3rd and 2, we have the play we want called, we have a snap infraction, I mean, it was some of those things that just happened that you're like, wow, this is just, it's just one of those deals where we just couldn't get out the funk. And then you get in that and you get into that, and then you start really trying too hard instead of just going back to doing your job and just relaxing and making the next play. And that's the way it happens sometimes. And, our kids, the one thing I'll say is that they absolutely love playing this game. They love playing with each other, playing for each other. And, sometimes I think, when you create some stress on yourself, it shows up a little bit in some of those ways. So just got to get them to relax and play the game the way they know how to play it. It's kind of funny because you're dealing with two different, totally different mindsets, right? On defense, you got to be chomping at the bit, and you got to be like right on the edge, out of control to play defense, right? And then offensively, it's got to be businesslike. Offensively, it's got to be, okay, it's a scrimmage. We go out there, we go run the plays, and you got to kind of rein that side of the ball back a little bit, and you got to try to ramp up the defense a little bit. So you're constantly managing that, and I think for us, that might be some of it. Offensively, it's we need to talk about the things that are going to help us win instead of trying to get them excited about too excited about going out there and cutting it loose, and then that leads to strain and stress and trying too hard to do things instead of just doing your job.
What was the most encouraging thing while looking at the tape that you got from this team after the Rice game that you can see as a positive going forward?
I think it's a positive and a negative, and I don't know if it's really from the tape, but it's just the reaction from our team. When we went down and we scored to go to a 6-point game, it was like here we go. Like this is it. Like, defense is going to get a stop, and this is it. And I think we've become accustomed and too comfortable in living in that world for the last couple years, right? Where offensively, it's like, okay, we can sputter around a little bit. Defense will keep us in the game. We'll get going in the end. We'll get a big stop on defense. We'll win the game. And we've got to learn to capture momentum when you have that opportunity to. Caleb Anderson's pick 6 was a perfect opportunity for us to cash in, right? We had a couple turnovers. We only scored off of one of them. Those are all opportunities that, off of one of 2, right? Caleb scored his own. But those are opportunities to seize momentum. And as an offensive unit, you've got to see that and you've got to capture that. So the good is the way that our kids, they believe in each other, and they believe we're going to find a way to win, and they should, because they've done it quite a bit in the past. The negative, I think, is that we're just so comfortable kind of in that setting where it's like, okay, well, we'll hang around and then we'll make a play in the end on defense. We'll get a drive going, we'll score, we'll win the game. And, you've got to learn as a team, as a unit, there are always critical plays in the game that are momentum swings and that are shifts in the game. And against Eastern Michigan, felt like we found it, we captured it, ran with it, and against Rice, we didn't. Now, some of it's to their credit, right? They went back and they put a really good drive together and converted on some tough downs and scored again. But for us, I think offensively early on, you've got to see that momentum, you got to capture it, and then you don't let it get down to a one-possession game. where it ends up being 2 in the end. So, I think that's kind of the positive and the negative a little bit. These guys believe in each other. They believe in the way we do it, and they work really hard for it. So when you have that, you always got a chance to win every week, even when you go out and you play really bad. You got a chance, and, we got the right group of kids, and, I'm excited about going to work with them this week, excited about starting off this conference schedule with them. Just look forward to seeing them bounce back and go and compete again, because I know they're ready to go do it. Certainly it's only Monday, so we got a lot of work to do between now and then, but I know they'll be ready to go.